India continued to bear the scourge of terrorism in 2016, with as many as 1,683 terror incidents being reported from across the country this year. As many as 250 civilians, 143 security personnel were killed in these strikes. The security forces, though, succeeded in eliminating 412 terrorists, but Kashmir witnessed a huge increase in terror strikes. Take a look.
While terror attacks in states affected by left-wing extremism accounted for more than 50% of these attacks, the troubled state of Jammu and Kashmir witnessed a massive surge in terror strikes this year as compared to the last. In 2015, J&K saw 208 attacks in which 17 civilians, 39 security personnel and 46 terrorists were killed. This year, the state, till November 27th, had witnessed 305 terror incidents in which 14 civilians, 71 security personnel and 140 terrorists were killed.
Infiltration attempts have been going up since 2012 on a fairly sustained basis, creeping upwards. They've been startlingly upward this year because it's even before the surgical strikes, relationships with Pakistan have been deteriorating. Or rather, I would say the Pakistani intent to restore terrorism to a higher level has become more and more clear almost through this year, even before the surgical strikes. But after the surgical strikes, certainly there has been a further uptake. So there has been a gradual escalation before, and then a slightly sharper escalation post the surgical strikes.
The Union Ministry of Home Affairs says there's been a spurt in infiltration attempts into Jammu and Kashmir from Pakistan. The data available with the ministry is alarming. 2015 saw 121 infiltration attempts by terrorists. But this year, figures until the month of October showed infiltration attempts more than doubling to 276.
This whole idea that Jammu and Kashmir is burning, that it is out of control, this is again a strategic, complete misassessment. You must understand that this is not a normal place. It hasn't been normal for 25, 26 years now. And in these 26 years, at least for 16 years, from 1990 to 2006, 17 years, it was a high-intensity conflict, more than 1,000 fatalities a year.
With close to 1,700 incidents this year, terror attacks continued to cast a long shadow over the country's internal security scenario. What is most alarming is the fact that 250 civilians and more than 140 security personnel lost their lives during these attacks. In 2017, the main challenge before the security agencies would be to rein in as many attacks as possible. Raghavendra Rao, WION, Delhi.
And in fact, joining me live right now is our senior correspondent Raghavendra Rao. Also joining me is our Pakistan Bureau Chief Taha Siddiqui. Thanks both of you this evening for joining us on Your World Tonight. Let me start by asking you, Raghavendra, first. Now, the data for sure is quite alarming. A massive surge in terror incidents that we've seen, especially in the year 2016. How do you read the data, and what are the prominent trends that are visible from it?
Which the Home Ministry has compiled. While the number of total terror incidents in 2016 may have marginally come down as compared to the previous year, but what is still of a huge concern within the government circles is the fact that the total number is still close to 1,700. It's a sizable number, and out of this, close to 1,000 incidents were reported in the left-wing extremism affected states. Another 400 odd incidents in the northeastern states. But what has really come as a source of worry to the security establishment is the fact that the northernmost state of Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed a huge spike in the number of terror incidents this year. The numbers speak for themselves. Last year, as many as 208 strikes were there. This year, the number has already crossed 300.
All right, Taha, coming to you, the focus here is on the border with Pakistan, with Jammu and Kashmir recording a massive rise in these number of terror cases, also infiltration bits, to which I'm going to talk about in just a bit. But Taha, how does one read this situation? A lot really will also depend on how Pakistan and India both take the situation forward? Because there has been a rise, particularly after the Uri terror attack, following which India launched a surgical strike on Pakistan.
Well, as far as the narrative in Pakistan is concerned, it's the same old thing that they've been saying for the last 1 year, that we've been seeing even before the Uri attack, or even before any of these the surgical strike claims from Indian side. The fact remains, in Pakistan, the state and the government and the military all stress on one factor, and one factor alone, that this is all of this has to do with an indigenous movement in Kashmir. This is an internal matter, and Pakistan has nothing to do with it. But despite that, this is besides the ground reality, which is different, because obviously we do know that in Pakistan there are these militant group networks which operate on the Pakistani soil, and the government looks away, especially the Kashmiri jihadi groups which operate out of Punjab, which operate in parts of Pakistan-administered Kashmir. So definitely what they say in the public narrative, and what the government usually is asserting, is that this is a Kashmir internal issue in India, and what is happening with India and what is happening in Kashmir, Indian Kashmir, that is something that we're not part of, and we're not sponsoring it anymore. But then when one looks at the ground reality, there is definitely these groups which operate, which are non-state actors, among which there are elements which do cross over, and we've seen that happening in the past.
All right, Taha, do stay with us. Raghavendra, coming back to you, if we talk about infiltration bids, now that's another figure, 121 cases reported in 2015. Now that figure more than doubled if you look at 2016's data, 276. Even the infiltration bids have seen a substantial escalation this year.
Absolutely, Sana. And the security agencies are particularly concerned about this bit, that in addition to the instances of terror incidents happening within the state in the valley, the number of bids to try to push in militants across the border into India has substantially gone up. Now, some in the security establishment also link this to the surgical strikes conducted by India, stating that after those surgical strikes, those across the border are under increasing pressure to make their presence felt, and are trying to push in as many militants as possible into India.
All right, let's hope the coming year is peaceful as far as the border is concerned. We're looking at the situation. Nothing can be said for sure. Thanks so much, Raghavendra, for joining us with the inputs.